can't tell you how many SaaS companies I've interviewed with or gone to work for where the CEO is so frustrated because the sales team doesn't know how to sell this product. And then I found out they've never had product marketing. And that's because if you don't have proper product marketing and know who it's the right persona, how to message it, what they care about, what are the benefits, and you have a way to present all that and then train your sales team, give them the sales enablement to go out and sell it, you won't have a successful product. So Nick, did I ever tell you about the time that I had a campaign that won in the same year an Addy Award and a Baddie Award?
That sounds exciting, but I need to know what an Addy and a Baddie are.
Okay, well, true. And this is not digital products. These are back in my days working in ad agencies. And Addies were awards in the industry for the best ad campaigns of the year. You could win an Addy. And the Baddie was done by Ad Week or Ad Age magazine for really bad campaigns, like failed campaigns. And I thought it was appropriate since we're talking about kind of fail and mistakes people make in product marketing, even though this isn't exactly product marketing. So I had a client, and I inherited the client just as the campaign was running. It was going on air. It was a cough syrup. And you know that expression, don't cough your head off?
I do.
Okay. Idea was the actor, and we had 3 different versions, the actor would start coughing and then their head would explode. And you just had their torso with like smoke coming up. And it was done in a very tasteful, funny way. And then the line, the voiceover just said, don't cough your head off, get Creamulsion cough syrup. That was in the brand of the cough syrup. It was a brilliant campaign. It won an Addy. But it turns out we had one version with Kid who woke up in the middle of the night, started the coughing, his head exploded. Apparently, parents were calling the TV stations saying their kids were having nightmares, and we had to pull the commercial off air like after running for a week. And then it won the Baddie Award.
That's crazy. So you have both success and failure. I mean, this is all about figuring out your own, like, meet your customers where they are.
Yes.
Trying to figure out how to help that specific customer set, because it worked in one set and it failed miserably for another.
That's true. And in those days, that was way too early to have like the product sales data to say whether it actually caused the product to sell or not. But I can tell you that it created a ton of friction with the client. When your campaign gets pulled off air, your client is not happy after they spent the money to produce a campaign. So, and I was just inheriting that client. So it was a challenging account to work on.
It sounds like somebody knew it was coming.
They put me on it. Perhaps. So I know it's not exactly product marketing, but I thought it would be a fun story to start with.
Yeah, no, it's a great story, but one of the aspects of generally product that is just so important to having a successful product is product marketing. But that is such a big disconnection from product itself. And that's something I wanted to talk to you about because, frankly, I'm not a product marketing expert because there's a lot more to it than just part of the product. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us to kind of go through and talk through a lot of those aspects and lean into a lot of what you know.
Yeah, because I had my first role as a product marketer. I'm going to date myself here. My first role was 1988. Was my first product marketing role. And so product marketing has always been a part of my role since then. And
I was born that year.
Great. We've really now set up how much older I am than you, or how much younger you are than me. Thank you.
I like how you went from the negative side of that to the positive side of it. Like, thanks. I appreciate it.
That's product marketing. You got to put the right spin on it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. And ironically, you probably don't know this, but I actually headed product at one company for 2 years.
Very cool.
Yeah. When I joined as chief marketing officer, just before I started, the chief product officer left. And so I ended up picking up product for 2 years and managed product team.
So you actually have a good optic of how the two intertwine.
Exactly.
Which is honestly pretty rare because, you might have the occasional jack of all trades that can tap into both, but they have a core difference.
Yes.
A very core difference. And so we wanted to talk about some of those mistakes in product marketing that you need to avoid. So I'm going to go through a few different things that we kind of discussed, and then you can kind of unpack it a little bit more.
All right. Shoot.
One of the big aspects that we need to talk about is rolling out new features and failing to promote them.
Yes. And in tech companies, so if we're talking, it might be, you can kind of put the sort of B2C spin. Obviously I'm a B2B marketer. So I think in terms of tech companies, I've worked for software companies, SaaS companies. Now I'm on my sixth SaaS company. So that's, my most recent background, but definitely there are so many features rolling out so often, and how do you communicate those and how do you get the word out? And then that can lead to the perception or to the lack of use or the lack of the value on it. So it's something that we focus very heavily on. We work very closely with the product team. We need to know the product roadmap and with confidence when new features are coming out, because there's a lot of work to do to put the product marketing before that. We have to understand the features, who's for, what's the benefit of the product, et cetera. And if we don't do that, and we don't put that word out in our product marketing materials and our emails, et cetera, then later people don't even know the product feature works or is available.
And I think a lot of our listenership is traditionally going to think of product marketing as actually marketing a physical product, something that you go out and you purchase. And I think that's where a lot of this mentality for many of our product owners and our product managers out there need to understand that product marketing comes down to the feature level as well. You might be able to market it within the journey itself, but you probably actually need to market it outside of the journey. Help someone understand. If you create a new loyalty program for your brand, yet you don't let your users know about it, of course it's going to fail.
Right. And from a product standpoint, bring it back to the product side. If you don't integrate that loyalty feature well into the buying process, you're going to frustrate people as well. And I think we've probably all experienced that, where we were members of a loyalty program and we couldn't get it to register, or we couldn't remember our login. It drives me crazy on the apps when I've got this loyalty program and they do an update on the app and they log you out. I don't remember what email address. I don't remember and I've literally had like QSR brands that I just give up. I just forget, because I had this loyalty. I knew I had points accumulated. I could never figure out how to log into the app, and I'm not going to do it while I'm standing in line.
And there's a brand out there. I won't name them, but I purchase from them often. I have the loyalty program, but it's so much easier to do a guest checkout.
Yes, rather than log in.
I'm just not even going to care. And they expire my points anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not even going to bother trying to figure out if I have points or not, because I just know by the time I go back and check it out, it's gone.
Yeah.
Why would I care?
We could probably do an entire frictionless experience show about loyalty programs.
I think we need to.
Yeah, that would be a good topic. Okay, so what's the next mistake we want to talk about?
Well, we want to make sure we avoid that you do not misunderstand your customer persona.
Good point. So yeah, there's tons of science and theories on how to build customer personas and understand who the buyer is, and understand that you could have multiple personas, right? For different parts of your product, different features, different aspects of your product. But if you don't nail that and really understand that customer and understanding how they think, and my belief is you have to get at the emotional, right? Because people buy emotionally and justify with logic. So you have to get at what is the problem your product solves and what's going to motivate them to want to buy it, and who is that ideal customer for that product, and really understanding that. And too often I've seen where they just kind of charge in and make some assumptions without clearly understanding that. And that's where you have misses.
Interesting. So you'll fundamentally create it, maybe even under your own assumptions, missing your customer because your customer has different expectations of whatever that product needs to achieve. Now, we could apply this both digital and physical products.
Yeah. That's when sometimes you get mistaken about the audience of one, if you will, where you tend to think like you might be the buyer, but you may not be the buyer. You very often are doing product marketing for products you aren't the buyer for. And you really have to understand that customer and the way they think.
One of the things where I really actually felt like it helped me a lot. I'm a hobby woodworker on the side.
Okay.
I do a lot of furniture building mostly, but that makes me truly a Home Depot customer. So now true. I go and I get a job joining Home Depot as a true customer. I understand at least the journey of what it means to be a woodworker. So much so that I can create that experience and replicate that for my users of a similar persona type.
True. But if you were doing product marketing and you were doing something, and the same thing with product for the pro, it's very different.
Absolutely.
Mindset's different. And we actually talked about that with Mike Shady, where we talked about the fact that the pro may be building a deck and they've done 20 of these. They want it all preset in there and be able to buy these products. But that product marketing fit and that persona is going to think differently about what they want out of the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next mistake to avoid is not talking to customers,
which is closely related to not understanding the customer persona. If you don't talk to customers enough, you're not going to understand the customer persona. You really have to do ideally one-on-one as well as maybe focus groups and work with customers, and in digital products really understand how they navigate the product, how they're using it, even in our own product, in our own platform. I love getting on calls with customers. And one of the things I like to find out from a customer is when you're at a event or a trade show and you're talking to a friend and you say, I have Blue Triangle. How do you describe it? What is the product? How do you describe it in your words? Because that helps us from a product marketing standpoint understand how our customers think about it and why they buy the product. And that allows us to then do that product marketing. So those constant conversations, and, in B2B world, we have Gong. Or similar solutions that record the sales conversations. That's hugely helpful. But you still want to do one-on-one conversations with your customers because you can ask questions and get clarifying understanding, or at least do focus groups.
And what if you have millions on millions of customers?
Good point. And part of it is then understanding the different segments of customers, like the pro versus the consumer. And even within the consumer segment, the appliance buyer at Home Depot is going to be very different than the woodworker, than the plumber. Right? They probably all have kind of different needs. So you'd have to really do enough research and talk to enough customers to represent. Now, statistically speaking, you don't have to, if you have 1 million customers, you don't need to talk to 100,000 of them to get patterns, right? There's numbers and it's surprisingly few. On a quantitative, if you're going to do like quantitative study survey, literally it could be 200 or 300 people would be sufficient to get an accurate read on 1 million population. There's a formula you use. But in focus groups, what you look for, and when I've done focus groups or in customers, you start looking for patterns, right? So if you start doing enough interviews and you're asking the same kinds of questions and a pattern starts emerging, it's not quantitative and you can't take that to the bank on a quantitative, but you can see enough of a common pattern that you generally get a very good read. And I've done that with doing, focus groups in 5 cities with, two groups per city. And we've got enough of a pattern that we uncovered the problems that we needed to address with product marketing. One example, a quick one I'll give you is, I was at two companies ago. We were marketing a product that was amazing. It did its ability to tie out on the back end and know if you went in a store and because you saw an ad coming through our product that you actually bought more toilet paper as a result, and you could tie that back to sales data. It was, and this is a decade ago. This was very early technology and we had a unique patented method we could do it. What we found out in focus groups, when we started talking to, nobody actually believed it. It was completely unbelievable. And we literally got people saying things like, nobody has that data. Some guy down in the basement has that data. Nobody has access to it. So we realized our problem in product marketing and marketing was we hadn't acknowledged the fact that it seems unbelievable, but it isn't, or is in fact a possibility. We would never figure that out if we didn't talk to the customer.
Interesting. So that actually segues kind of nicely into mistaking your product marketing for being part of the product team.
Yes. So, because we talk a lot about product, which is your background, part of your background. We haven't talked about product marketing, but they are very different disciplines.
Oh, of course. I mean, I've said time and time again, I have no idea how to market this thing right.
Right.
I just know how to make sure to get the vision, to be able to execute that product and be able to deliver and ship something successful. That said, if you assume that part of that product lifecycle is creating that actual groundswell, right? This isn't a build it and they will come.
Right.
Not usually anyway.
Right.
So how are we going to go ahead and create that momentum that you need to start getting that successful product?
Yeah. And that's where really product and product marketing should be working. It's hand in glove, right? Product marketing can help inform on the front end. that customer understanding, the customer persona, although product teams should also be talking to customers, right? So they're both talking, but they're looking at it. Product teams are often looking at the actual functionality and where do they get hung up in the process, right? So that's part of the product marketing if it's an enjoyable experience buying. If it's a frictionless experience, that is part of that marketing. It's kind of like using an iPhone. I know you're not an iPhone user, but part of iPhones are they're really simple. They work really well and they're very consistent, right? That's a usability aspect, product design, product management, and product marketing all together. And then on the back end, as the product is developed and understanding where that roadmap is and when that product is coming to market, doing the marketing work, creating the groundswell, creating the interest. And Apple's brilliant at that with their product announcement stuff. They do that and everybody is anticipating that next phone.
So through this, it's very clear that product marketing is not truly a function of the product lifecycle and the product manager.
So yeah, what we didn't answer was where does it belong? Typically belongs under marketing. It needs to be closely aligned in marketing because that's where you've got the support, right? Once you have that product marketing plan, you now have to execute on it. That's going to mean email, updates to the website, that kind of stuff, messaging updates, commercials, ads, something like that. That's all falls into your marketing discipline. So they're closely aligned.
Which is a really good understanding to say our last mistake you need to avoid is assuming that your product failed.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many SaaS companies I've interviewed with or gone to work for where the CEO is so frustrated because the sales team doesn't know how to sell this product. And then I found out they've never had product marketing. And that's because if you don't have proper product marketing and know who it's the right persona, how to message it, what they care about, what are the benefits, and you have a way to present all that and then train your sales team, give them the sales enablement to go out and sell it, you won't have a successful product. That's in the B2B world. Talk about from a B2C standpoint.
And in a B2C, what you're really looking at is adoption, right? Adoption of a specific feature set, whatever it may be. Obviously, you can sell at a B2C level, a product or direct to consumer, whatever, and it would be very similar to kind of what you're saying. But when you're talking about digital products, where you're really more just a feature, not necessarily literally a product, that adoption has to come from the fact that it was actually properly promoted. And, Home Depot does a great job of promoting their features. We talked about it with Mike Shady. We talked about it, about how you have the little tile spacer and how that's going to be adopted throughout. And that's really where product marketing becomes successful. But if you have this feature that allows you to figure out how to do a visual search, but you tell no one about it and you just bury it somewhere deep within your app and you hope people click.
If you build it, they won't use it.
Exactly.
If you don't market it properly. All right. Well, that reminds me of, let's talk a couple of fails. It would be funny. Did you hear about when KFC ran out of chicken?
I have not.
Okay. 2018. Great story. This is before the pandemic. In the UK, they switched a supplier to a transportation supplier, and they failed to get chicken to outlets, and 700 of 900 stores had to close because they literally ran out of chicken at KFC.
Wow.
Which is bad, right? So it's kind of a product fail, product delivery, there was a lot of things that touched, but they recovered. I think they get a star for recovering because rather than kind of shrink from it and not admit they made a mistake, they actually ran full page ads and they took the KFC on the buckets and they rearranged the letters to be FCK. And then the copy said, "Hey, we screwed up. We ran out of chicken and we're really sorry." And it was such a great recovery. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So, that's a success story about product marketing fixing really a logistics problem, but we can kind of summarize that and roll it up as a product problem.
Right. What are some other examples of failed marketing over the years?
I'll tell you probably my single favorite one is Crystal Pepsi. Crystal Pepsi.
I never even heard of it.
Well, this is probably why it was poorly marketed. To me, this is a fail on product marketing because the promise of it is you get the flavor of Pepsi. You get everything that you would want with Pepsi, but you have no added coloring. So to me, that's nothing but a positive. Because I very much drink very pure drinks. It's usually water, it's coffee, it's unsweet tea. I rarely have sugar in anything I'm drinking. And I guess whiskey is sugar, but Other than that, it's very little added sugar. So I want little additives. So I probably wouldn't actually drink Crystal Pepsi, but if you could remove the added coloring, that is going to fade towards my liking.
Right.
So you will gain a new audience with this product.
So why was it a failure?
Because everyone was uncomfortable drinking
Clear,
but it tasted like Pepsi.
Yeah.
It freaked them out.
It's almost like when you think you're about to drink water and it's 7-Up or something or Sprite.
Yeah.
And it's not that you don't like Sprite. It's just you were expecting water.
Absolutely.
So his expectations misaligned with the product delivery.
Absolutely. And the next one,
Yeah.
Cheeto lip balm.
I don't think you have to say anything else. that one speaks for itself. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Cheeto lip balm?
To me, that feels like they weren't actually trying to sell this product.
Yeah, that sounds almost like an April Fool's.
An April Fool's or just simply a viral marketing campaign.
Yeah, yeah.
Something that's just trying to get people to... Have you seen the Cheeto lip balm?
It disturbs me from a flavor standpoint, from a texture standpoint, because I'm picturing like Cheetos, that kind of rough, like putting that on your lips.
The question is, did it get on your fingertips and get all over your pants?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, there's so much wrong with that. All right, how about Google Plus?
Oh man, Google Plus was my jam.
It was. Why do you think that one failed? It was one too many social networks. It was not well marketed.
I think the perception of Google at the time was that it wasn't about the social environment. So you had Facebook in the wake of MySpace that was really cornering that social environment for a profile. This was about profiles, right? You also have the Twitters of the world, of course, now X, but you have the Twitters of the world back in the day that were coming through, and Google Plus tried to compete directly with the Facebook mentality, but also bring in the business Google Plus account,
which then infringed on LinkedIn. So it was like the combination of LinkedIn and Facebook and wasn't as good as either of them. So it was like it was something in the middle that just didn't solve a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt like it was a better brand and a better brand promise because it was so uniquely tied into my Google profile. Classically speaking, I was very much a what do you call it? Someone who blindly follows Google. I've kind of faded away from that a little bit.
I don't know what the term is.
Yeah, is it a Googleite?
I don't know. A Google nut? I don't know.
A googly. I had
googly eyes.
I had googly eyes.
Okay, speaking of googly eyes, how about Google Glass?
Oh, that's my favorite. I had a deposit down and everything.
Really?
I wish I went through with it.
Why didn't you?
It was back in a time when I couldn't afford anything like that. They were $1,500.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
But they failed to catch on, right? But today,
well, they had a lot of product failures that existed in the field.
Oh, so, the actual product?
Yeah, the product didn't work, or it distracted people while driving. There were a lot of like turn-by-turn navigation that you would have just in your eye. It was also very uncomfortable, and a lot of people would look at it. There were just a lot of things that were amiss, and I was waiting for them to just turn the corner and be able to fix a lot of these problems as a consumer that was really excited about it. Now you see a lot of others coming out, like you have Apple Vision Pro now, but it's different. It's
different. They aren't trying to be both glasses and like
Google Glass wasn't. Google Glass was just a wireframe on you with a little like thing you would look through that would basically add a heads up display.
Right, but it was meant to be subtle, so it didn't interfere with it. When you put on the 3D goggles, everybody knows your vision is blocked, right? Like if you saw people walking around, like I don't know if you saw Joanna Stern, Wall Street Journal wore one for 30 days. She was like on the train with this thing. It just looks goofy, right? And everybody acknowledges you are not like, but when you just have Google Glass on, they might not even know they're Google Glass.
Oh man, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I know you've labeled me a gadget guy, but I've just started to fade so hard. I'd rather live in the trees.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought it was an interesting idea, but would be way too distracting for me.
Yeah. It's not for me.
I have too much ADD to wear Google Glass. All right. So that was a good topic on the difference between product and product marketing. Hopefully that was helpful to everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Frictionless Experience podcast. Be sure to like us on your favorite podcast app so you're notified every time we have a new episode. And of course, give us a review on Apple if you like it, a positive review. And let us know what you'd like us to cover. We're happy to cover anything. And of course, you can always follow me and Nick on LinkedIn. I'm at Chuck Moxley.
And I'm at in Paladino.